Hi, my name is Mark Powers, and I am a former master's student from the University of Alberta, studying in Dr. Philip Currie's lab and transitioning into a PhD in Dr. Caldwell's lab, also at the University of Alberta. I'm from Alberta originally. I come from a small town called Eckville, which is about 20 minutes west of Red Deer. And what I have been studying in Dr. Currie's lab has been dromaeosaurids, or the raptor dinosaurs. And I've been looking at the evolution and ecology of their snouts. So how they interact with their prey essentially, and how that's shaped their evolution. And I'll be transitioning to studying snakes, and I'll be looking at the large snakes of the Cenozoic, so the more recent time following the dinosaurs, and be looking at big snakes like Titanoboa, as well as close relatives, the Matsoid snakes. My interests have always been around predatory animals, and being a paleontologist isn't what I always wanted to be, but it was one of the first career options that I thought of. And I wanted to study the big carnivorous dinosaurs, and then it changed to wanting to study snakes and crocodiles, and then I went back to big carnivorous dinosaurs, and then it went to sharks and marine biology, and then it kind of came back to paleontology, which it always sort of did. So that is why I pursued that. And outside of paleontology, I like to look at the modern dinosaurs. So I like to go out into the wilderness on hikes or just near wetlands and look at the birds that are around and they're migrating through or just there year round. And I hope to get a picture of all the birds of Alberta at least, and if not much more areas throughout the world, but one step at a time. Some of the challenges in the field of paleontology include the cost, traveling to see specimens and to get to conferences, the competitive nature of having limited working positions but a lot of interest from young scientists, and then the field work, which is very rewarding in itself but also takes a toll on personal relationships. So for myself, I've worked really hard to stay on top of getting funding. I've understood that I needed to have money to do the things like going to museums and going to conferences. So I've always made that a priority, and I've managed to get to most conferences each year, as well as traveling to see specimens in different museums across North America. So I've managed to get through that okay. As far as the competitive nature, it's just a lot of hard work during your academic career. It's focusing on your studies and trying to keep your grades up, as well as getting as much research experience as you can too. Anything that can set you apart from your peers. In my case, I worked really hard with my peers because we all kind of tried to build ourselves up. So I don't think it is as cutthroat as I make it sound, but it is one of the challenges that will be faced. And the last one about the fieldwork, you're usually going out to remote areas where you have limited cell service. And so personal relationships with your family, your friends, loved ones, all that, it can be difficult for them as you're gone for weeks to months on end. And it's important to check in how you can and have discussions and make sure that communication stays open somehow. The research I'm working on right now is focusing on raptor dinosaurs, which doesn't seem to have a lot of relevance to the world at large. However, what I'm looking at for raptor dinosaurs is involving how we understand the evolution of extinct animals and what effects that ecology can play on that. So the morphology is what we use, so the shape of the bones and things like that, to determine what things are most closely related to each other. And I've been looking at how ecology can affect those shapes. And if we look at things from that standpoint, what happens is that a lot of things will end up looking similar to each other, but it won't be necessarily how they've evolved, but what they are convergently acquiring shapes to do something. So predatory animals like raptors will have consistent shapes that they will evolve to in order to deal with capturing prey and things like that. So it's kind of determining what is important to look at in understanding evolution and what is actually just in understanding their ecological niche. So to help with the world, I would say that will give us a better understanding of how organisms do change and what we can expect the changes to look like going forward. And that's important when we look at how the mass extinctions that are happening currently caused by humans might affect animals going forward, whether or not we make it to see what actually happens after. I would say the accomplishment I'm most proud of is getting into my master's initially, completing my master's and getting into the PhD, this whole step-by-step process has been a challenge, and it's been a lot of fun to do so. And along the way, I have published a paper, so the whole process, I would say, is what I'm most proud of. I've been really fortunate in getting a lot of awards and funding to help me along this process, so it's definitely taken a lot of the burden off. I'm excited for the next steps and see where it can take me in the future. My advice to prospective paleontologists is to always work hard at your academics. You know, when you get into university, work hard at your classes, do well. It's also to set yourself apart in any way you can. So do research on top of your courses if you can, as well as doing outreach things. You know, try to spread information, teach others, and just innovate, find new ways to enhance the field itself and get more public interests and do things that will help lead you to a career path that maybe wasn't the one that you thought of initially, but still is involved in this field, this very diverse and growing field of paleontology. If I had to teach one class above all other types of classes, it would probably be an ecology class focusing on predator-prey relationships. So looking at the carnivorous animals across all different types, marine animals, terrestrial carnivores, dinosaurs, sharks, crocodiles, snakes alike. I think it's fascinating the challenges that predators have to overcome. Their sensory reception in order to achieve these goals is pretty phenomenal. It's not to underplay the herbivores, they're very important in all the things that they do too. It's always where I've been fascinated is those predatory animals, and I would love to teach a class about it, just to know as much as I can and spread that knowledge about. So my favorite dinosaur is probably Gorgosaurus, which is a close relative of Albertosaurus, which are both right here in Alberta, and they are tyrannosaurs that were smaller than T-Rex, but they were quite a bit faster because of it. They were more sleek. So to me, I view them as a much more adept predator overall. They have the speed, they have the power of being a tyrannosaur. They're the whole package, small arms and all. As a group of dinosaurs, I would say my favorite are troodontids, which are close relatives to the raptor dinosaurs or dromaeosaurs, which I've studied. And they have really weird teeth with really big serrations on them, and they have these massive forward-facing eyes. And of the dinosaurs, they have the largest brains in proportion to their bodies. So they're the brainiest of the dinosaurs, and they might have been behaved in a similar way to modern corvids in that they were problem solvers, they were more omnivorous than some of the other dinosaurs, and they were able to utilize more food sources than their close relatives like the dromaeosaurids, which were strictly carnivorous.